Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for Tech News Today is provided by CacheFly at CACHEFLY.com.
One more time. This is Tech News Today for Monday, December 30th, 2013. Welcome to Tech News Today. I'm Tom Merritt.
I'm Sarah Lane.
And I'm Jason Howell.
And this is the show where we keep you up to date on the most important stories in the tech world. We've been doing it all year long, putting them in some context for you. And now it's time to look back at some of those top stories from 2013, starting with the top 10 of the year in the news fuse. On June 5th, The Guardian published an article showing evidence that the U.S. government forced Verizon to hand over phone records of millions of U.S. citizens. June 6th introduced the world to PRISM, a program which claimed to have direct access to data from Google, Facebook, Apple, and others. On June 9th, Booz Allen Hamilton contractor for the NSA, Edward Snowden, revealed himself as the source of the leaks. Booz Allen Hamilton fired Snowden on June 12th for violations of the firm's code of ethics, but that didn't stop the leaks, which still continue. Further revelations have included Skype surveillance, taps of fiber optic cables, huge database collections of contact lists, metadata, and encryption keys, tapping private data center interconnects with Project Muscular, deliberate weakening of encryption standards, deliberate infection of computer networks, spying on Warcraft, and most recently, diversion of laptops in order to install malware, among many others.
All right, how can you talk about 2013 without talking about Bitcoin?
Yeah, you can.
It was originally created in 2009, but mostly unheard of, at least in the news, until this year. Bitcoin went from being worth literally nothing when it was created to hitting a high of the equivalent of about just over $1,000 US before crashing down again, and then going back up, and then crashing back down, repeat. Best known as the currency that accompanied illegal transactions on the Silk Road to some, which is a black market website, Bitcoin has transformed into functional currency with growing investment market. WikiLeaks used Bitcoin to work around a financial blockade, then raised $12,000 worth of Bitcoin for the defense of NSA whistleblower Edward Snowden. Richard Branson announced that Virgin Galactic would begin accepting Bitcoin. Some others companies followed suit, but the Chinese government is already putting the clamp down on Bitcoin trading, and its value continues to swing wildly.
Wild. It's a wild ride.
Mm-hmm.
On August 23rd, Microsoft announced CEO Steve Ballmer would retire within 12 months of that date. Microsoft formed a committee involving Bill Gates to search for his replacement. Ballmer will stay on the job until a replacement is found. Speculation ranges from Ford's Alan Mulally to Gates himself to Executive Vice President Satya Nadella. Those have all been floated. Gates denies that he would take the job and has said only that it's a, quote, complex role to fill. Ballmer's a complex man.
Twitter unleashed its initial public offering on November, it was the night after the 6th, so November 7th, at $26 per share on the New York Stock Exchange. The first trade popped up way up to $45 a share, then jumped up to a high of $50, a gain of 93% over the IPO price in the first day, before dropping back a little to close the trading day at $44.90. After Facebook's messy debut on the NASDAQ last year, some investors were skeptical, but the offering went by without a hitch. Almost 2 months later, shares are hovering in the low 60s, but some analysts say Twitter shares are overpriced and the honeymoon is coming to an end as the company struggles to pull in enough advertising revenue to keep those investors happy.
They're keeping happy there on Twitter. BlackBerry started the year with the launch of the Z10, the Q10, the new name BlackBerry instead of RIM, and the brand new, I said bland accidentally, I'm sorry, RIM, brand new BlackBerry 10 OS. They spent much of the year up for sale, but after a bid from Fairfax Financial fell apart, CEO Thorsten Heinz stepped down and was replaced by CEO John Chen. Under Chen, BlackBerry manufacturing has been shifted partially to Foxconn, or will be. BlackBerry Messenger was released for iOS and Android. Most recently, Chen told CNBC his team has a strategy to stabilize BlackBerry, of course. He also said he would love to make the BlackBerry experience available on Android and iOS.
Wearable technology, the new frontier in 2013 with Google Glass probably leading the charge. I mean, nothing's gotten more attention than Google Glass, right? The first Glass units were given to early adopters who had to enter and win a lottery, but then still pay $1,500 on top of that back in April. Google's using this testing period to improve the device for general consumption. Google Glass is, of course, wearable Android-powered computer built into glasses that you can put as a little perch display in your field of vision. You can film things, you can take pictures, you can search, you can translate on the go, as well as run specially designed apps for Glass. But not everybody likes the idea of not knowing if a Glass wearer is taking their photo or recording them without their permission. There's that ongoing safety issue for Glass wearers who are also operating vehicles. And then there's that whole aesthetic thing that's just not working for everybody.
Banned in bars, too. On September 2nd, Microsoft announced it will purchase Nokia's Devices and Services unit for 3.79 billion euros, plus another 1.65 billion euros to license its portfolio of patents. Nokia will continue on and focus on its network infrastructure, its HERE, maps and location-based services, and advanced technologies, which is its licensing and development arm. CEO Stephen Elop immediately stepped down and became Executive Vice President of the Devices and Services Division, reporting to interim CEO Risto Siilasmaa. The deal is expected to close sometime in the first quarter of 2014.
Apple's 2013 lineup was full of, products, actually. The iPhone 5S was announced as Apple's new flagship phone in September. Of course, the iPhone 5C is its more affordable, colorful companion. The iPad Air replaced the 4th-gen iPad. The iPad Mini got a Retina display. But perhaps the biggest change, and the most controversial, at least in design, was iOS 7, which did away with that skeuomorphic design of iOS and opted for a flattened, modern UI complete with bright new color palettes that not everybody was all that into, and new features like the Control Center and improved notifications.
The next-gen game console wars heated up as Microsoft and Sony released their new models. Sony announced but did not show the PS4 on February 20th, then undercut Microsoft with a lower price and more consumer-friendly message at E3 in June. PS4 went on sale in the US and Canada on Friday, November 15th for $399. Microsoft showed off the Xbox One on May 21st. Then at E3 on June 10th, Microsoft announced more details, including the option for game makers to prevent used game sales and the requirement that the Xbox always be connected to the internet to work. Microsoft President of Interactive Entertainment Business, the guy who developed the Xbox One, Don Mattrick, said people who don't have the internet should buy an Xbox 360. On June 19th, Microsoft reversed their unpopular policies, and on July 1st, Mattrick left Microsoft to become CEO of Zynga. The Xbox One went on sale on November 22nd for $499.
2013 had some good news for frequent flyers. In October, the Federal Aviation Administration announced that passengers would be able to watch videos and play games with their electronic devices throughout their entire flight, not just above a certain altitude. A ban on using cell phones for voice communication remained in effect, but once cleared with the FAA, airlines began allowing passengers to use portable electronic devices like tablets, laptops, e-readers, cell phones in airplane mode throughout the flight. I was one of them. It was a wonderful day indeed. Wonderful day.
Beautiful, beautiful feeling.
Yep.
Of course, all kinds of other things happened this year. Yahoo buying Tumblr, Google Barge, Dell going private, the Hyperloop. We got some of those things to talk about, and joining us to have a little conversation about it is Darren Kitchen, hack5.org, who's been our regular Friday guest for most of the run of Tech News Today so far. Thank you for joining us, Darren.
Absolutely. Honored to be here on this Liquid Monday. Cheers.
It's always liquid somewhere. Cheers.
Sorry.
Also joining us, someone who used to join us every Thursday back in the day, Dr. Kiki Kirsten Sanford. Thanks for joining us, Kiki.
Hi. Thanks for having me on. I, too, have liquid on Monday.
Excellent.
Oh, vodka lady.
Yeah,
Got
there
it.
we go.
Okay.
One of my favorite cocktails.
Going hard.
2 parts H,
Sure.
1 part O.
Awesome. Water of life there.
Maybe it's gin.
All right, let's start off talking about the unavoidable topic, Edward Snowden. We gave you the rundown in the news views of many of the things. This story is largely political. However, there are tons of tech implications, and we've covered them throughout the year. Most recently, Snowden told the Washington Post on December 23rd that he thinks it's mission accomplished. Now, those are always dangerous words for anyone to say in this last 10 years or so. Here's the quote. For me, in terms of personal satisfaction, the mission's already accomplished. I already won. As soon as journalists were able to work, everything that I had been trying to do was validated. Because remember, I didn't want to change society. I wanted to give society a chance to determine if it should change itself. Now, the fallout continues. There's been a consortium of tech companies led by Google, Microsoft, Yahoo, AOL, and a bunch of privacy-oriented activist companies, organizations rather, who are petitioning the government for more transparency. There's the RSA complications where RSA seems to have been paid to weaken an algorithm. RSA says they didn't do it on purpose, but they don't deny they took some money. We do have a conversation going on about whether society wants to change what happened here. Darren, from a citizen of the internet's point of view, how do you view this year of Snowden revelations? What effects do you think it had?
This is the number one thing I am most thankful for this year, because this hero, Edward Snowden, has brought to light the things that, I mean, before then, I don't think society had any kind of idea the extent of which the NSA and its Five Eyes partners have been at war with every human's privacy, without which we cannot have a free society and enjoy the basic human right of expression. And so I'm very thankful that we're having this conversation, and in any which way it must happen. This is just the best thing to happen for any of us, really, in probably the last 10 years.
Kiki, what about you? Coming from the science, you're the host of This Week in Science. Do you think this is going to have an impact, has had an impact on the scientific community?
Well, I think that the scientific community is really trying to open up right now and bring all of its data out and become more transparent. So I think it's a really interesting question to kind of look at it from the level of making data available to the public, making everything apparent when we're coming up against issues of scientific retractions and a bunch of there's an increase in scientific retraction in the literature, and it's just good to get stuff out there. I know that scientists are definitely concerned about making science something that people do trust, and not keeping it something that is hidden and misunderstood. So this is going to be very important, and it'll be interesting to see how everything plays out.
And we definitely have problems with international relations already. Brazil threatening to try to change the way the internet works. Companies saying they're going to have a harder time getting contracts when they store their data in the U.S. because the perception is, whether it's reality or not, the perception is that the U.S. is spying on every piece of data that's stored here in the United States, especially foreigner data. Sarah, we've talked a lot about how it changes the way you use the internet because you think differently about what you're typing when you know that it's possibly being stored somewhere on a server.
Yeah, and I mean, I think one of the easier answers I could say, which is popular, is people saying, well, but I don't do anything that I'm really not proud of or would get me into trouble, and so I don't know, the government spies on us anyway, so what are we going to do about it? How are we really going to change anything? But that was always this perception, and I think understanding the reality of what is actually being collected helps, as citizens, us understand, okay, well, if you're in some sort of a group of people that might be being monitored for whatever reason, there is a likelihood that you can be targeted as somebody who is a person of interest and that not be accurate at all. And you can be engaging in all sorts of behavior that could be research-based or, as a journalist from that angle, that could really put you in some hot water. And this is not just sort of, oh, what if they're all listening? It is, they are all listening. We as citizens have rights. And now we have tech companies, especially the big ones who have a lot of power, let's call them the Googles and the Apples and the Yahoos and the Facebooks, who say, well, wait, hold on. I mean, we can't just be complying with everything that's being asked of us, because that makes the people who use our businesses and help us raise advertising revenue not want to be on our networks anymore. So it's a very interesting situation that we're in now, where we have these businesses who are out for financial gain, not necessarily siding with the government because they actually have to depend on us users.
Right, and it's actually not too big because I know that overwhelming feeling of like, wow, this is way beyond my control. I'm going to have to compartmentalize this some way so that I can move on with my life. But what's really great about this is that this conversation has, not only spurred innovation in terms of privacy with things like strong encryption, PGP, Tor, and so many other, off the record and things like that, but it's actually made companies like, say, LavaBit come out and say, like, I have to shut down because there's no way to provide this to actually provide this security lawfully in the United States. And then we have companies like Microsoft even equating the U.S. government to an advanced persistent threat, something that's typically applied to, or at least here in the States, we apply it to like Chinese hackers, those evil, state-sponsored war hackers. But yeah, this is really great because it's empowered us, even if you don't individually take part in using, like, say, strong encryption or something like that. Companies are adapting, say, for example, Google implementing strong encryption between data centers to thwart this kind of stuff. So it's good for all of us.
Yeah, and I think it's going to help us all, as you're saying, Darren, raise awareness of what the tools are at our hands to protect ourselves and give us better tools.
Yeah.
Not just the open source tinkerers are motivated to make this stuff work anymore. And that's going to help move it forward faster. Spotlight was on Marissa Mayer this year, 2013, a full year as CEO of Yahoo. Sarah Lane, how'd she do?
Well, it depends on who you ask. It's been a very interesting year. Not only was Marissa Mayer actually the first woman to be in the Forbes 40 under 40 for the first time ever, but she graced the cover of, well, maybe not the cover, but there are a lot of magazine articles written about her, and it's an interesting thing because she still, even though she's a woman and there are a lot of women executives and hopefully there'll be a lot more, she's still an anomaly in the tech world for a lot of people. Can she do this? Can she turn Yahoo around? The fact that Yahoo was in sort of deep doo-doo as this legacy company that was really struggling to become modern and change with the times, that was always the case. The fact that Marissa Mayer, I think she celebrated her year as CEO, it was in June, I believe, of this year. But we had a very exciting year. Yahoo bought Tumblr. Tumblr, huge social network with a huge number of users, many of them quite young. Yahoo also, under Mayer's directions, decided that telecommuting was not good for the company. Those workers who had figured out some way to not be in the office, which is headquartered in Mountain View, although they have offices all around the world, were being told, no, you got to come in. That was an interesting backlash, too, because in this day and age, as we know here on Twit, there can be all sorts of remote working that happens. And it's interesting for a company to say, no, we all have to be in one place. Yahoo bought a lot of companies, and hey, there's still time for them to buy more. It's not January for a couple of days. Quickie, GoPullGo, MileWise. Am I missing anybody big? Yes, I am. Sumly is another. Just last month, Yahoo announced that Katie Couric was joining the team. We still are not exactly sure how that is going to play out, but suffice it to say, it sounds like Yahoo wants to broaden its video arm, its original content offerings. Darren, what do you think? I mean, it's Yahoo's kind of fascinating to me because this really is one of the old guard,
right.
And we're talking about Yahoo all the time.
Which is weird because otherwise I don't think, unless all of this shakeup was happening, we would be, because they are, like you said, old guard, where you just kind of they became a tapestry. It's just kind of there, right? But at this point, only good can come of this because otherwise it would always be that tapestry. And I feel like I don't necessarily know if all of these purchases and all of these changes have been, the best move, and I don't know what the perfect solution is for Yahoo to remain relevant. But the fact that we're even having this conversation at all means that at least Marissa Mayer has, kept Yahoo in the spotlight. And so I don't know if I was just coming out of university, I might actually be considering, hey, that might be a cool company to work for. They're it's like old school hipster cool. It's like rocking a tape player in your car or something. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I work for Yahoo. Huh?
Wait, a Yahoo job is like a members only jacket?
Yeah, there you go.
I think Marissa Mayer has done a good job this year. I think we still need to give her a little time to know exactly what her plans are and how they will come to fruition. I don't see any major missteps, but I also don't see that Yahoo has done anything but change perception among some people. And there is a huge amount of people, a huge number of people out there who are users of Yahoo still and haven't ever thought of Yahoo as going away or declining. They read their entertainment news, they do their fantasy sports, they do mail. She's still got them and she hasn't lost them. So that's, that's something that she could have blown up. She could have made too many changes. She kept that hardcore audience. She's made some wise acquisitions. She's made some acquisitions that seem a little puzzling, but maybe will pay off later. I don't think she's made any acquisitions and tried to force them in that have been horrible, but we still haven't seen Yahoo turn the corner yet. They don't have any apps in the top 20 apps on iTunes at the end of the year. And that's one of the big things she's trying to change is that mobile presence for Yahoo. I feel like she's got the right ideas. I feel like Yahoo's headed in a better direction than it's been in over a decade. But the jury's still out whether they're actually going to make it up that hill. But at least they're turned around and climbing the hill now instead of falling down it.
Yeah, I would say Marissa Mayer and the company understand that mobile is the future of Yahoo. Can they make the future of their mobile offering something that will entice people to either stay with Yahoo or come to Yahoo products when they may never have been there in the first place? That is the big if. I will say I now exclusively use the Yahoo Weather app because it's the best one, in my opinion, at least on iOS. So there you go.
There you go. There you go, Marissa.
Yeah.
You got Sarah Lane to switch.
But I'm not really using Flickr anymore, so I guess it's a wash.
I actually am using Flickr. I like Flickr.
Well,
they finally made an app that they should have made 3 years ago, but, still. Let's talk a little bit about wearable computing. That's the other story I picked for our discussion section here. Just a review, we started with the Pebble actually launching finally at CES. Remember, in 2012, they raised $10,266,245, and they came out with the $150 watch in January. Microsoft, Google, Apple, all rumored to have watches all year long. None of them ever came out with one. Samsung probably came out with the highest profile one, the Galaxy Gear, September 4th. It's limited in how you use it. It needs a smartphone to really make the best use of it. They are claiming they shipped 800,000 of them in the first 2 months. It cost $299, but it only works with particular phones. Galaxy Note 3, the Note 2, the S4, the S3, and the Mega. And it looks like we're going to get a Galaxy Gear 2 at Mobile World Congress already. So I don't know, Darren. You're a fan of the wearable computing. We could talk about the Talk. We could talk about the smartwatch. But I think the wearable victor for the year is probably Google Glass, isn't it?
Yes, Tom. I believe it is. It is the most innovative ways to take upside down photos of yourself, and
when you set it on the table, right?
When you set it on the table, or just have strangers come up to you and ask you all sorts of questions, and then just have to go report back to them and say, no, there isn't a killer app. It just takes photos. But otherwise, I think it's really innovative. I've been a big fan of wearables for a long time. I've been a big fan of like Vuzix's work and stuff of that nature. I love the Prism screen, but I actually feel like the biggest winner in wearable computing, at least for me this year, has been not Glass, but the NFC Ring, in that it's just a tiny piece of jewelry that is so simplistic in that I can just use it to unlock my phone or do other sorts of things with my phone, and it's passive, right? I don't need to worry about charging the battery, and it doesn't look weird on my face, and it doesn't have a bunch of people come up to me and ask me how to use it. It's just a ring that unlocks my phone.
It's a large phone you have there.
Yeah, I think it is a little sad that the Google Glass and the Galaxy Gear are our two big wearable computing products. One is $1,500 and you have to know somebody to get it. The other is $300, which is twice the price of the Pebble. And it only works with a limited number of phones. Don't discount the Pebble, though. Pebble has a lot of fans out there. I think it probably is the better of all of the watches that are out there. But Sarah, do you think wearable was a disappointment this year?
Well, I don't want to say it was a disappointment. I think that we were talking about the future of wearable computing this time last year, and I think we all kind of thought we would see stuff that was cooler. Or at least there would be more to choose from. For example, I really thought that Apple was going to have their iWatch introduced. That was something that, I mean, without any insider information, I thought that there were enough rumors that was going to be something that we saw this fall. It wasn't. It wasn't even anything that Apple even really hinted at, besides, a few analysts and supply chain rumors here and there. Now, that doesn't mean that other companies weren't working on it, but I felt like Samsung
with their marketing of
that
Galaxy Gear.
Galaxy Gear, and just the fact that it felt rushed to market. And I think that that's not just in direct response to what Apple may have been working on, but just in general, Samsung wanted to say, we want to be first. We want to be first in this industry. And there is some merit to being first, but there are a lot of people that were disappointed. They thought it was overpriced. It doesn't do enough. It kind of doesn't make sense. And then it's sort of like, oh, well, if that's the future of computers on our wrists, well, we still need those phones in our pockets, and it's not a replacement.
Well, right now we do, but it's just a hint of what's the future of wearables. I mean, if you go back like way long, you look at, say, things like the Palm Pilot and be like, this is the future of computing. And people would be like, what? You don't have any connection. You got to sync it. It's huge and all of those things. And so this is one of those, I feel like if there's any technology right now that's kind of hindering it, it's actually the batteries.
Yeah, I was about to say the same.
And it's really a chicken and egg problem, because when you come out with a device that then needs that even smaller, even lighter weight, even longer running battery, then you can hopefully get that said battery. And it's cool, because this is the Palm Pilot.
Well, you're making the point that maybe I wasn't making very well, is that I just think some of this stuff it's still in its infancy. I guess I'm a little disappointed that we are not farther along with solving those battery issues by now. But again, they're not going away. Wearable computing is we've got some sort of clunky products that have a lot of really cool potential right now.
I feel like
and that was kind of the upshot of Matt Honen's article, which just came out today on Wired. He calls it Glass Hole, My Year with Google Glass. He talks a lot about these downsides of it, but he says he can see the potential, and there's certain things that he can do with it. Recipes, or the cycling app Strava, now that they've got the developers kit out there, where it's starting to make a lot of sense that you want this stuff on your face because it's less interruptive. You don't have to pull a phone out. You don't have to look down. You can keep seeing the world around you. We haven't been ignoring Dr. Kiki. We had a little connection problem with her, but I think we've got her back now. Kiki, how is the wearable computing landscape looking to you?
Well, I think it's looking very exciting. I'm looking forward to a lot of the scientific applications and people being able to really get into tracking their personal data and being able to make the movement into personalized medicine. So the excitement is there. People are starting to work on apps and work on ways to use it scientifically, but we're still once again dealing with the hindrances of the technology not quite being there yet.
Yeah, and Effin in the chat room is like, hey, you guys should use the Galaxy Gear since its last update. They've fixed a lot of things. It's a more useful tool now. And I think that's just emblematic of it, right? Wearable computing is going to continue to get better as they develop it better. And I think that's why Samsung's finally like, you know what, fine. We'll put out another one at Mobile World Congress, even if that's fast, because we want to improve it. And that's what people are waiting for. They're waiting for improvements. I'm
Someone's
curious.
Someone's going to improve it.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking of like when tablets came out years ago, and now,
right.
And they failed the first time out. And then Apple came out with the amazing iPad, right? And now tablets are everywhere.
I think people's expectations with wearable, like you said, Darren, revolve around battery technology improving, because people have these expectations with these wearable, small, portable, tiny devices on your wrist that do all of these crazy things. It's like you need the small form factor for people to be interested, but then you need the large form factor for the battery to be large enough for it to do all those things and be capable of it. So it's going to be a few years, I feel, before all this stuff really catches.
I feel like you also need the killer app, and I haven't seen it yet. I've had ideas.
There's some pretty cool apps for Glass.
There are, but they're like the one for me is being able to control a quadcopter drone and have telemetry on my eyes so I can keep it line of sight and yet also have first-person view.
Obviously, the one app.
Obviously, that's the one for me though, and
right.
it's going to be different for everybody. So yeah, I feel like apps are going to be.
And Jason, it's interesting you say that, because most people in the audience probably know, but many might not, that you have a pair of Google Glass.
Right.
You don't seem to wear them that much.
I don't. And I've, again, Darren, like, when do I wear them? I wear them during events where I can take pictures. That tends to be the thing that kind of speaks to me most, possibly because I have kids and that's pretty much all I take pictures of. But the extended capabilities of Google Glass really ask you to overlook a lot of things, right? You have to remember to charge this every single night, and it's probably not going to make it through the entire day if you're using it heavily. It has to sync to your phone, so there's battery pull both from your phone as well as the device. There's a lot of ifs. There's a lot of asterisks that go along with it. The capabilities are great, but some of that kind of battery implication really needs to be taken care of, as well as the form factor.
Yeah, and I think that goes back to what I was saying, is it feels like when I carried my first Palm Pilot or Pocket PC, where it was more like hoping, for what it could do than what it actually did, and looking past the disappointments and just being hopeful about it. Syncing with my Avant Go so I can, read stories on the bus.
We'll see what it's capable when it's made available to everyone and what they charge for it. Right? I mean, right now it's just in la la land as far as what, whether you can get one, how much you have to pay.
It's on a barge.
Yeah, I would say with Glass, in particular with Glass, I'm excited for 2 years from now. Not this next, release of it that's going to probably happen in 2014, but 2015, because they really need to work on just improving the look of it and, I don't know, making it more appealing to the mass market.
And making it available on barges. I think that's
barges, important.
If they can
Because
give
everyone
you,
wants to be on barges.
if they can give you Scarlett Johansson's voice talking back to you, I think you might be onto something.
Or if they could give you a Geordie
reference
LaForge
there.
visor looking
There
glass.
you go. There you
Or
go.
That would be pretty good.
Both of those
got
things
ideas.
together,
And Predator View.
that's a killer app.
It's Predator View. That's what we all need.
All right, we got one more. Those are my two discussion stories. The Snowden thing, you can't ignore it. And the wearable computing. You've got Yahoo, and what's your other one, Sarah Lane?
Well, it's not necessarily that I'm so much a 3D printing enthusiast.
I
but
know. I'm surprised it's not Bitcoin.
Well, I don't know. I've talked a lot about Bitcoin this year, haven't I, Tom?
You talked out of the Bitcoin.
I may have talked myself right on out of caring about Bitcoin at this point. Probably just because I can't get any. They're all too expensive now, and Tom won't give me his. No, 3D printing is actually something that, we're talking about wearable computing and the fact that we're kind of on the precipice of something really exciting. Same thing with 3D printing, although with 3D printing, I mean, you have so many very proven, very exciting stuff that's right on the horizon. For example, there's a story just today about the first 3D printed organ, a liver, possibly coming to people who desperately need organs by a company called Organovo. Says that basically the problem is that if you're printing something like a live cell to form a solid physical entity, which is human tissue, the problem is you have to recreate a vascular system that is needed to provide this organ with sustaining oxygen and nutrients. And this company says we've achieved something that's greater than 500 microns that could maintain live tissue in a fully functional state. I mean, blows my mind completely. Kiki, I'm sure this is news that's exciting to you as well. But, that's probably the first thing I've heard, even in the, all the exciting things that you can do with a 3D printer, where I go, okay, we're talking about changing the world at this point. People are worried about the fact that you could print a 3D gun. It's happened. Companies have successfully managed to fire these guns. We've shown videos of them on the show in the past. Shapeways is just one very cool marketplace. It's like the Etsy of 3D printing, where you can look at all sorts of different categories of 3D printed objects. Some of them that are really reasonably priced, again, because they're not necessarily hugely marked up, because they're being printed by a variety of people. 3D printed speakers, that's something that you go, oh, that's just really cool. Of course, yeah, let's print some speakers. And they work. Corning successfully was able, Cornell Labs rather, was able to successfully show that being in use. But Kiki, from a science perspective, I mean, the whole organ printing, I mean, that's got to be just the beginning of something that's really revolutionary.
Oh, it's so great. Yeah, it's absolutely revolutionary. For so long, all we've been able to do is, maybe lay down a structure and try and get cells to grow over that structure. And then maybe the structure dissolves away in the cells and the organ or tissue is left behind. And you can use that for something like maybe you grew an ear. It's like, yay, it's not really an ear. It's just the outside of an ear. But anyway, this is actually taking all of the pieces and beginning to put them together in a real interactive way so that the tissue is dynamic. It's not just endothelial or skin cells growing over a structure. It's actually all of the skin cells. It's all of the blood vessel cells. It's everything growing together, which is more natural, being printed together so that it is a whole organ as opposed to just a piece of an organ. And that's really where we're at. And that's, I mean, we're not quite to building something that's a big liver yet, but we're starting, and it's so cool.
And it's not I can print one out of my own home and, just take it to the doctor either, right?
No, I was just laughing when Sarah made the segue from talking about printing the liver to 3D printing on Etsy, and I'm like, oh yeah, just go online and print the liver.
Yeah, get the liver that you like the best.
Hey, cheers to that.
This is my kind of liver.
That one.
Yeah. Talk about
like
aesthetically pleasing.
To me, it's not even just 3D printing. It's the whole concept of fabrication at home. I mean, we're seeing awesome stuff in the ways of like pick and place machines and PCB fabrication. So it's really like, I love the concept of the open source model applied to physical, because it's not just, as open source has been the democratization of software, we can see that as the democratization of things. And it's so cool because it's going to shake up and shape so many industries, just as the way that, say, the MP3 player shook up the music industry, which ... makes me very excited for the concept of, and what I've been waiting for, which is the iPod of 3D printers. And I'm very hopeful that 2014 will be that year.
Yeah,
Yeah,
if you want to see a war over copyright and intellectual property, keep an eye on 3D printing, because this is going to be much different than the digital war over MP3s and videos. You're talking about things, and there are different laws regarding the making of things and the protection of designs. So a lot of the stuff that has been worked out regarding digital media is not going to apply in this space. And a lot of companies who've just kind of ignored the internet as far as a threat to their business model are suddenly going to have their backs up against the wall.
Yeah, I mean, imagine you had the patent to the spork, and now everyone can print a spork without your permission. Oof.
And people are going to do that. There are 3D printing stores opening up in neighborhoods all over the world. You go into any little neighborhood and you've got a MakerBot store, well, New York, or you go across the bay from San Francisco into Oakland and there's a little 3D printer store in Montclair. Like there are these places where you can go and print things and you don't have to go to a store.
You could buy something called an itty bitty sad Keanu for $25. It's under the category of desk toys on shapeways.com.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, I mean, don't tell me that 3D printing is a
Or
fad.
you could save up a little bit more and get the PrinterBot Simple and then make all of the itsy bitsy useless, what did you call it?
Sad Keanu.
Sad Keanu.
Right.
Yeah,
and then you've got an
Keanu
army.
Reeves
Yeah.
shortly.
I mean, they're
It pays
sad,
for itself
but
after 4 of them.
strength in numbers.
Mm-hmm.
I think Kiki pointed out something that we don't think about as much, which is the revolution of 3D printers in retail space. We think, oh, we're going to have 3D printers at home and print stuff out, which will in part be true, I think. But it will also change what can be done on site. You don't have to have a big industrial complex to make some things from now on. You just need the right materials. And we're in the early days still. I don't know exactly what the analog is, but we're somewhere between the Heathkit and the Apple II, I think, or maybe we're around the Apple II era of 3D printers. But it's still very hobbyist, very early days, a lot more promise than delivery as far as what you can actually do with it right now. But that promise is going to be realized, and the time frame that it will take to realize it is unknown. I'm really excited about that.
I think it's really interesting to draw analogies between 3D printers and what we were just talking about wearable computing, because like you said, Tom, 3D printers like right now is kind of like where the original personal computers were back in the hobbyist days. And I feel like wearable computing is kind of in this weird like tablet area where it's just like, hey, let's try to create a market, and it's a difference of mindset between consumer electronics and that kit, that hobbyist thing. It's cool.
All right, before we wrap up, Dr. Kiki and Darren, I didn't ask you guys. I apologize if you had any stories. There's tons of stories that we haven't touched on, at least in any depth here in this episode. So if you've got anything you want to throw out there for a little discussion,
can I give you my top 5 products of 2013 that I feel like were influential?
Sure.
Real quick,
wow, okay. You are
real
prepared.
quick. Number 1, Chromecast, because it's inexpensive and the value that you get for that is amazing.
Oh, yeah.
The Oculus Rift, because the dream of the '90s came true and it rocks. Google Glass, because it's a fun novelty that I hope is just an analogy of the Palm Pilot and will become something. The DJI Phantom Vision drone, because it's finally a quadcopter drone that anyone can pick up and fly in 10 minutes, and that's going to be fun to watch the FAA on. And the NFC Ring, because it's just simple and yet, as far as a wearable computing device, actually provides, like the Chromecast, a lot of value for not a whole lot. So those are my top 5. Oh, and what I'm looking forward to the very most is Cast AR and updated FAA regulations in 2015.
For Cast AR on a quadcopter.
There we go. Actually, we did just strap a Pico
Jerry.
projector to a drone on Hack 5, which was really fun to project things down onto the street next to people. Like I'm with Stupid and an arrow, and then just follow them down this anyway.
Kiki, any last thoughts?
Yeah, I had some stories that didn't make it into our This Week in Science top 11 stories of 2013, some that did. But to me, the big stories of tech and brain stuff this year, tech, robotics, Google buying Boston Dynamics.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm just going to be so excited to see what Google does with all the robotics companies they've bought. They now own all robots.
The Android guy can make an Android now.
Exactly. So that's really fun. Not printable, I'm into 3D printers now. Flexible, sensitive electronic skin that mimics real human skin, detecting different levels of pressure. So this is, I think, going to be really interesting in the advancement of robots that are sensitive to slight touch, and brains growing in petri dishes.
Wait, what? Say that again?
Is that happening? Wow.
Yes. Mini human brains being grown in petri dishes. That's what scientists also did this year. They grew a little brain and it worked. It developed just like a normal brain and worked just like a normal brain, but it was tiny and in a petri dish. So yeah, brains in dishes.
Grow a little brain, make a little mind, get smart tonight.
Oh yeah. And false memories in mice. That's the other scary thing.
Oh, yeah, that one is.
Implanting memories into mice brains.
Total Recall, Mice Edition.
Yes. Those are some of my big stories from this year that were really fun.
Oh, cool stuff. Thank you, Kiki. Well, big note to let folks know, if you're into the subreddit, technewstoday.reddit.com, Kilday wanted us to note that it has a new design, a new look, thanks to Tom Gerke. Check it out. It's clean. It's beautiful.
Yeah, that's really good.
Well done, Tom Gerke. So check that out, technewstoday.reddit.com. All right, we're about to wrap up, but I want to thank our guest, Darren Kitchen, for this day and all the Fridays that you've been on, and Mondays as well, before that, actually.
Yeah.
Really appreciate you joining us. And let folks know what's going on at Hack 5.
Thanks, Tom. It's an honor to be here as always. And continued stuff over at hak5.org, where we're empowering you to take charge of your digital life, maintain privacy and security through the stuff that we bring on Hack 5 and ThreatWire. So don't let the NSA revelations scare you, because this is actually an exciting time to take charge.
Excellent. Dr. Kiki, This Week in Science, and lots of other projects going on. What do you want to tell folks about before we let you go?
This Week in Science is on every Thursday evening around 8 p.m. Pacific time, and you can catch us at twist.org/live, and we'll keep you appraised of all of the interesting and fun science news that is going on in the world. We make science fun and interesting, so join us.
And thank you for all the Thursdays. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me on today, Tom, and I'm sorry that my quality has not been up to the TNT.
Your quality has been fine.
That's right.
Internet service provider's quality has been troublesome, but we've worked through that.
We figured it out.
Thank you for your assistance. Appreciate it.
Thank
All right.
you.
Now, many of you probably have noticed that Ayaz Akhtar has not been on this show today. Here is a message from Ayaz for the TNT audience.
Hey everybody, just dropping in to let you know that this is going to be my last appearance on Tech News Today. I want to thank you guys for letting me be part of a fantastic show. Thanks Tom, Sarah, and Jason for putting together the best dang show on the internet. We've got the smartest audience in the business, and I thank you guys for letting us come into your earbuds or televisions or however you watched us. Thank you guys so much, and I'll see you around on the internet.
All right. We wish Ayaz the best of luck. And if you'd like to keep up with him, the best place to follow him is at Ayaz on Twitter. Now, we wanted Becky Worley to be on this show today, but Jason, she wasn't able to make it.
Yeah.
But I understand she has a little message as well.
Yeah, she wanted to record a little something for him.
Hey, Twit Faithful, Becky Worley here. Tom, I wish I could be with you on your last show. It would seem fitting since I was there for the first show. And I guess that's kind of what I want to say is how much fun it was to build Tech News Today with you. You taught me so much about this format of show, how to do daily, long format, really how to bring out the best in your guests, how to have fun. And you were just such a team player in all of it. And I learned from you. I wish you the best of luck in your next endeavors. And I just have this feeling you're one of those people where I know that we will work together again in the future, no matter where, no matter what, no matter how. All right. I love you, man.
Aw, thank you, Becky. You will not be able to avoid me. You're absolutely right. Nor will you, Sarah Lane. I want to thank you directly. It's been a pleasure. People do not understand how hard this woman works, and she makes it look easy. So thank you so much. Oh, stop.
Sorry. I cry
Nobody's
a lot.
dying.
I know.
In fact, Tech News Today will continue. I want to wish best of luck. He won't even need it. Mike Elgin is an excellent choice to helm Twit's news director position, their new news department. He's a pro. He's a smart guy. You're going to love what he does. Expect great things from Mike. I want to thank the entire Twit staff for their support and friendship. You guys are worth more than you know. Special thanks to the folks who launched Tech News Today. Eric Lanigan, the inventor of the News Fuse, Jammerbee, Tony Wang, Ken Shepardson, Dane Golden. Thank you guys so much. Jason Howell, you are the best at what you do, bar none. Thank you, man.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure working with you, sir.
Of course, thanks to Ayaz, Mr. Skeptical, Mr. Critical, but always enthusiastic. And Leo Laporte, I will miss you. I really will. When I left CNET, I did so because Leo would support quality daily tech content and gave me some flexibility. That tiny cottage operation I joined in 2010 proved you did not have to be a big corporation to be a big network. It's all about the content. Thank you for letting me be a part of that, Leo. I really, really cannot thank you enough. So I'm off on my own. If you're looking for me, you can find me at tommerritt.com. I'll be messing around with my temporary news show at dailytechnewsshow.com. I want to finish just by saying something brief about why I do what I do. And if I look down, it's because I wrote it down just to make sure I wouldn't cry through it. Nah, I'm just kidding.
Hey.
Hey, stop it.
Some of us aren't androids.
Some of us aren't Andy Rubin. But no, in all seriousness, from the first time people ever dialed up to a BBS like I did, or a Gopher, or a news group, or GeoCities, or a forum, or the Netcam network, or freaking Twitter and Snapchat, what we've done on the internet is amazing. We've changed the world, and we're still changing it, and that means we can make it better. Look at all the open source projects out there. Look at Thingiverse, at Shapeways. Even look at the memes on 4chan and be inspired. It doesn't matter where you are, who you are, what you look like. All that matters is what you do with the time that is given you. The show is what I do. I look around at all the tech stuff around me, and I've always tried to figure it out. And then I try to pass along what I've figured out to you. And you make this show better. We're all in this together. Let's go make something amazing. Allons-y.
There we go.